Welcome back to another jam-packed episode of your Did You Hustle News. As always, I'm Wade Teamer. Today, it's going to be a doozy. To start, we have the latest from HBAR, IOTA, Stellar, Algorand, and Ripple. Brad Garlinghouse is back on CNBC discussing the Ripple case and his thoughts on Joe Biden's executive order.
Awesome. But it also is calling out that, look, we have had a fragmented and siloed approach to regulation here in the United States, and that is impacting the United States leadership in this very critical, very rapidly growing industry.
In addition, the Federal Reserve's FedNow service is set to launch early next year. Right now, though, they are holding a showcase who currently only has one blockchain present, Cypherium. What is Cypherium? Are they in the mix, and who brought them to this party? All those questions will be answered in today's episode, but first, I have a very special surprise for you guys. So the hustle has been paying off, guys. Officially, starting today, DHN has partnered with Webull to bring you the best offer on the market for those who are new to investing. Right now, when you use the link pinned in the comments, you will receive 2 free stocks worth anywhere from $300 to $300 just for opening the account. On top of this, when you fund your account with any amount, you can get an additional 3 more stocks. Even if you just added $1, that's 5 free stocks just for signing up. On top of that, Webull isn't just offering stocks. They also have crypto. As an additional bonus, you can get $5 of crypto for free when you trade $1 or more. These include trades on CRO, XLM, and even Tezos. You can learn more by going to the link below. Our first story, we're going to start with IOTA, where we are revisiting a development because a crucial piece of information was overlooked. In our latest ISO video, we learned that Dell, Intel, and IOTA were working on the data confidence fabric. Well, that fabric is now being used by Climate Check for their digital MRV. At the same time, Google is funding IOTA, Climate Check, and Gold Standard with a cool $1 million to help them reach sustainable development goals and the terms of the Paris Agreement. The true focus of this initiative is really focused on the growing carbon markets, which during the course of 2021 surpassed $1 billion in value. What's next for the industry is the introduction of distributed methods of processing workflow. This is where technologies like DLT and the Internet of Things come into play. This is why they chose IOTA. Gold Standard is a digital innovation firm that focuses on helping companies meet the goals of the UN Sustainable Development Program. However, this particular arrangement calls for open collaboration, including the following entities: the INATBA, or the International Blockchain Alliance, the World Bank, Project Alvarium, Hyperledger Foundation, and ISO. Yes, that very one. Now, when it pertains to how the data confidence fabric will be used, you're really going to enjoy this one. The digital MRV is for reporting the verification of climate and sustainability data. With the MRV, nations of the world can better meet their international requirements for carbon credits. Currently, digital MRV is being used in Chile to enhance accountability and transparency of GHG reductions from the Biodigester project. This Biodigester project, hosted by the San Pedro Wine Company, is actually a joint effort between Canada and Chile for environmental cooperation. Back in December of 2020, Climate Check announced a strategic partnership that used digital MRV as part of the Reciclio Orgánicos program supported by Environment and Climate Change Canada. I did not know that Canada was this deep into blockchain, and it appears their #1 friend is IOTA. Now, here's where the weight in this actually lies. These global climate initiatives come from just one place: the World Economic Forum. In 2022, I think we will see the rise of carbon credit markets, and from my knowledge, there are only a couple blockchains in the space that are working in that direction: IOTA, Tezos, and the feature of our next story, Hedera hash graph. The HBAR Foundation has launched a $100 million initiative focused on climate impact. Dovu will be their inaugural grantee. Makes sense. That's the #1 eco project on Hedera and also a member of the Crypto Climate Accord. But what's even more interesting is how much Agenda 2030 is written all over this arrangement. Now, Dovu will be pursuing their open source Guardian technology to develop publicly transparent mechanisms such as their audit trail to verify carbon offsetting data. The reason this is important is because that data is key to obtaining the right credentials for entering the carbon credit marketplace. How this applies to Agenda 2030? Well, Wes Geisenberger, Vice President of ESG at HBAR, said that this new initiative aims to hit all 17 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In a quote, he stated that in 2022, we will be investing a significant portion of the Sustainable Impact Fund in grantees addressing major challenges in climate change, renewable energy, and sustainable consumption and production. This move puts Hedera Hashgraph already in 2030. 2030 is a year you're going to hear a lot about because the leaders of the world have a series of objectives to see through by then. At the end of this episode, one of the end screens, there will be a link to a piece by Helio Wave. All I'm going to say, guys, is 2 words. Mind blown. Next up, we got Algorand. For starters, the Algorand blockchain over the last 3 months has seen growth of 35% across the board. Since the beginning of 2022, 6 million accounts have been added. According to data from the Algo Explorer, the number of Algo accounts going into the new year set at 17.3 million. As of March 10th, that number now sits at 23.5 million. That's 6 million new investors, either retail or institutions, now on the Algorand network. In addition, Algorand is preparing the London Bridge that will allow Algorand to connect with Ethereum's platform and hopefully keep it from falling down. It will also include Algorand's new smart contracts, which we will break down in a second. But first, I want to talk about the Algorand Foundation's new CEO, former JP Morganite Stacey Warden. Stacey, when I looked into her background, one thing jumped out to me right away. This is a global player. Warden is the Executive Director of Global Market Development at the Milken Institute, where she leads strategic initiatives on developing capital markets. At JP Morgan, she was the lead for public sector clients in the EMEA and New York's debt capital markets team. She also served on the U.S. Treasury Department and ran their Debt for Nature Restructuring Global program. She helped start up the Center for Global Development and worked as an economist at the Carnegie Endowment and Harvard Institute for International Development. Essentially, she has over 20 years of financial experience across 50 different countries. But what I found to be the most interesting is her tenure at the Carnegie Endowment. Word is, and you'll see more about this in Helio Wave's video, essentially there's a group sponsored by the World Economic Forum that has the specific goal of molding the next leaders of the world. 2 institutions involved with that program, Carnegie and Harvard. On top of this, she currently sits on the board of the Global Blockchain Business Council with other members like Procter & Gamble and Hyperledger. Needless to say, this was a fire acquisition. Now let's talk about these new smart contracts. March 2nd, the Algorand network expanded their smart contract capability to include contract-to-contract calls and post-quantum secure keys for trustless cross-chain interoperability. What does all of that mean? Well, in essence, Algorand is on a mission of EVM compatibility. These new upgrades will allow Algorand to build even more dApps and other applications that are either compatible with Ethereum or can do what that application does twice as fast and much cheaper. The trustless post-quantum security keys sets the stage for the upcoming state-proof technology that will add enhanced privacy and security to the Algorand blockchain. The keys will generate these proofs on a new layer to Algorand that will allow trustless access to the Algorand blockchain in low-power environments such as mobile phones, smartwatches, and even other blockchains. I'll put the link down below to the full state-proof technology PDF alongside the Webull promotion. Next, we're talking Stellar Lumens. For starters, Stellar is sponsoring this year's South by Southwest Finance 3.0 Summit alongside Porsche, Volkswagen, and Blockchain Creative Labs. I mention this not only because it's a great PR play, but I am really shocked at how much blockchain presence is at this event. I've always known it for music, but hey, this is the age of crypto. In addition to this month, they are partnering with DFS Lab to host the Stellar Blockchain Bootcamp. This bootcamp is tailored to early to mid-stage startups in Africa. This is good to see because what tends to happen is that these winners ultimately turn into potential products for the Stellar ecosystem. Now, on the subject of the ecosystem, smart contracts are making their way to Stellar. In a recent blog post written by Tom Weller, he goes into a little bit about the history of Stellar Lumens and why they haven't had smart contracts before, highlighting the fact that in the beginning, Stellar essentially had many features of smart contracts that were built into the core protocol. By doing it this way, it avoided a lot of the complex coding issues that came with Bitcoin and Ethereum. But as the market has evolved greatly since 2014, he now believes that smart contracts would be a powerful addition to the Stellar network. This brings us to Project Jump Cannon, on-chain smart contracts for Stellar Lumens. They will add a whole new level of depth to the development for XLM. No dates or anything have been revealed as to when this would debut, as the focus is still the MoneyGram integration, which is getting ready to launch this year. Something I think a lot of people have forgotten about already. But what's most important to take from this is the fact that smart contracts on Stellar opens the door for so many new applications to be built. New applications bring in more value. Now, our last bit of Stellar info actually comes from what Danielle Dixon said in her latest post to the forum in response to Biden's executive order. She summarized that day's events at the end of her post by stating, "Today marks a step towards determining the fate of a technology that will unlock a more equitable and accessible financial system." Powerful words, Ms. Dixon. Powerful words. Now, let's get into some XRP news, the first of which is the one that I found to be the most interesting. According to Binance trading volumes, the most popular cryptos in Russia right now are Bitcoin, Tether, and XRP. By using trading volume pairs compared to the ruble, numbers indicate that the top 5 pairs by volume go to Tether, Bitcoin, Binance USD, Ethereum, and XRP respectively. This information made me curious, so I looked up what other pairs Binance had to the ruble. Interesting list, I must say. Algorand, Polkadot, and Neo, surprisingly, just to name a couple. So, not only have I seen these kinds of stories a lot in the last couple of weeks, I'm starting to see a trend in which cryptos are contributing as well. XRP, for instance, on March 3rd said they would develop a cash direct giving program to aid families in Ukraine. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a great thing. I am all for providing help to those who need it. However, let's think about the long-term implications here. Will this program end after the conflict is over? That's not exactly how blockchain works. But we also have Brad Garlinghouse back on CNBC expressing his opinions on Biden's executive order, as well as some updates on the situation with the SEC. One big point he laid out here was the fact that the executive order for crypto alludes to the fact that the SEC cannot regulate the crypto space alone.
Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple. Brad, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's a big week for crypto with this executive order. What does this mean for the industry, and what's the big takeaway for you?
Look, I think this has been a very positive event. And frankly, we had heard, as I'm sure you had, a lot of rumors about an upcoming executive order. And I think this exceeded my expectations of what we could have even hoped for. Because look, the first step to solving a problem is acknowledging you have one. And for me, the executive order is really calling out something we've been saying for years, that one, this is a massive industry. It's not going away. We have tens of millions of US citizens participating in various ways, which is awesome. But it also is calling out that, look, we have had a fragmented and siloed approach to regulation here in the United States. And that is impacting the United States leadership in this very critical, very rapidly growing industry. And why the executive order is written, I think what we have seen really, and you kind of see, particularly the talk about silos, you kind of see to some degree the executive branch saying, hey, this SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, can't take singularly the lead because it has to think holistically. Every time the SEC is mentioned in the executive order, it's alongside the CFTC as well as the CFPB. And I think we have seen here in the United States, things have been withheld. Sorry, they've been moving more slowly. And as to your question, outside the United States, in countries like Japan, in Singapore, in the UK, in Switzerland, even in the UAE, you're seeing entrepreneurs and investors able to pursue opportunities in crypto and blockchain without that uncertainty.
Ask you about the SEC versus Ripple case. What can you tell us about that at this point? What's the latest, and has there been any progress when it comes to that lawsuit?
Well, it's been, almost not quite a year and a half since the SEC sued Ripple, sued myself, sued Chris Larson, and we are moving as expeditiously as we can. It has certainly been frustrating to see the SEC drag their feet. This past week, expert discovery wrapped up. The SEC had sought delays around that, and I mean, one of the ironies around this has been that Gary Gensler, the chair of the SEC, has been quoted as saying, "Justice delayed is justice denied." And then the SEC goes out and seeks delays. It's rare for a defendant against the SEC to be pushing to see things happen faster, but we think it's very clear that the SEC has overstepped. The SEC has taken what's called the Howey test, which is the test to determine if something's security, and they've really stretched it beyond recognition. So I'm hopeful and optimistic we'll see some decisions around some key elements that are before the court today, that maybe within weeks. We'll see. I think the questions that that the court has been asking have been very thoughtful, and I'm hopeful that we'll get some clarity soon.
So now we have to talk about Cypherium. The story with this crypto is growing more and more interesting by the day. Most recently, it popped up in our ISO checklist episode working alongside Algorand and the Digital Monetary Institute. Last year, they ended up on my radar when I was looking into China's CBDC. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, that's going to be exclusive to them. There is no place that I know of in the US where we can buy Cypherium. However, China's CBDC is already out, fully functional, so why did this coin resurface? Well, March 9th, it was reported that Cypherium was the only blockchain present at the Federal Reserve's FedNow service provider showcase. If you don't know, the FedNow service is essentially America's leg of the new ISO 20022 system. It will go live in early 2023. The showcase includes more than 70 profiles and service providers for instant payments, one of them being Cypherium. For years, though, they gained recognition by working with primarily Chinese-based companies, of course, which is how I found them before. But here comes the swerve. Cypherium is actually from New York City. And when you look at the team, there's a CTO and CEO, both from China. But their backing is all American tech companies. Microsoft, IBM, Google, Amazon. They also work with Chainlink. This I discovered thanks to Crypto Feeney on Twitter. You're the GOAT for this one. This is a quote from the head of partnerships at Chainlink from 2020. He states, Cypherium's blockchain solution provides enterprise ironclad security for smart contracts. Chainlink's decentralized Oracle technology enhances the functionality of smart contract blockchains like Cypherium. This tweet carries so much more weight though. Next, we get a breakdown of the ecosystem. But notice on the right, under highlights, it says interoperable solution to China's DCEP. That's an alternative payment system in the East. They are also the blockchain advisor for the European Central Bank, the Central Bank of the Netherlands, and the People's Bank of China. Our Federal Reserve Board is also advised by them as well. Then we have Cypherium Connect, or the Digital Currency Interoperability Network, described as a third-party plug-in module for banking systems. They also hold a position on the U.S. Faster Payments Council. The only other blockchain with that credit is Ripple. Now, when it comes to the showcase, other participants include MasterCard and BNY Mellon. Remember, BNY Mellon has that program going on with Cambridge as well. This showcase includes a number of other companies with one shared focus: Synchronon, providing an ISO 20022 simulator; Ninth Inception, weird name, but they specialize in mapping, testing, and implementation of ISO; CNM Software, they provide CRMS, another ISO software. All that taken into account, I just have one question. Why? On the surface, this felt strange because the US Fed sought out a Chinese blockchain solution, but after digging, it seems they built it themselves and have been testing in China. It also makes me wonder, is this a proxy move? Meaning, does this indicate that the Fed is truly open to incorporating blockchains into the new payment system? Whatever the truth turns out to be, we can't deny that this move is profound. March 9th, the same day as Biden's executive order, Cypherium rallied nearly 200%. As of time of recording, that momentum has not stopped. Numbers don't lie, people. It's clear to me now this transition is accelerating quickly. Fortunately, I got the tools you need. Check out this video on everything ISO and this one that I was mentioning all throughout the video from HelioWave. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. And always remember, if the money is digital, so is the hustle. I'll see you in the next one.